gracious, wonder-working God, God of many names, God of no name, we thank you for bringing us together in this place. We thank you for this beautiful food on the table. We thank you for the good earth from which it came, and we thank you for the hands that prepared it. We ask that you will be with us through our time here, keep us covered in spiritual armor, keep us grounded and loving of each other and ourselves. May we forgive easily, including forgiving ourselves. And when we leave this place, we ask that you will continue to guide our steps and order our purpose and bring us back home to our loved ones and then reconvene us anew in the appointed hour. May it be so. Amen. 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 Ashe. Ashe.
Well, tough love, right? Tough love, and all that, so on and so forth. But Kamm is a former Bell co-chair for COVID. And I say that branding, I think I'm the one who has used the term over and over again, that COVID is our legacy organization. Because in the civil rights community, they talk about the legacy organizations. There is no more important legacy organization in the reparations movement than in COVID. I commented today to Kamm, I said, we heard the brother today, he made this presentation, that was an Cobra baby, right? That was an Cobra seed that was planted. You see blossoming and developing. And Kamm is in the same tradition, someone who has been working on reparations for many, many, many years, having caught fire. He now has an organization called Reparations United. He is a charter member of the National African Reparations Commission, which is the Dr. Kamm, Dr. Bruce Simmons is a part of it, as Dr. Julianne Malvo on the way, and many others. But I think, to me, Kamm's role has grown immensely as one of the great thought leaders in the reparations movement. As an expert, he studies, and I'm an organizer, and I think I'm a pretty good organizer. I do some pretty good stuff. But when it comes down to listening to the arguments, and I'll have my opinion, but Kamm is studious about looking at international law, looking at the key questions. We may debate sometimes on some of these matters, but he's always thoughtful in terms of talking about the nature of international law, where we are as a movement, and where we ought to be moving forward. So it's my honor to bring at this moment our leader, our dear beloved friend, Kamm Howard.
We also thank Robin for this event, this gathering. At our last symposium, I talked about every time a room with reparationists, so proud and so encouraged I am on the struggle. And so I'm happy to be here in this gathering.
Here we go. He's good to go.
I want everybody to keep eating. I want you to stop.
Welcome.
Everybody keep eating.
Why? I got you.
Dr. Daniels has grown to be my mentor, one of my leading mentors in the movement. As he says, he's the chief organizer and knows everybody. If you want to get in touch with anybody, just go to Dr. Daniels. You'll be able to reach out to anybody. Today, I just want to talk about, very informally, I want to talk about who we are, who you are. I don't think y'all know who y'all are. So I want to make sure that y'all know who y'all are. I'll tell y'all who y'all are. Yeah. I'm about to go back in time to tell you who you actually are. I'm going to go back 600 years, but before I go back 600 years, I'm going to go back about 15 years. Back in 2009, I was watching this international conference. And at this conference, it was a 4-day conference, I glued myself to the TV, like from 11 at night to like 6 in the morning, because it was an 8-hour difference in time zone. And country after country representative came up and reported on what they did over the previous 8 years because something had happened 8 years earlier. And about the 3rd day into this conference, I got a revelation. It was like, it's this immense revelation, and I started writing, and I started writing, and I started writing, and I started writing. And when I finished, I had about a 15-page document, having viewed what was taking place at this conference, and I entitled that paper, From Wickedly Great to Great. Now, I can laugh or whatever about how I titled my papers, but at that time, Minister Farrakhan was going through a challenge with the Jewish community because he had said Hitler was great. But he qualified it and said Hitler was wickedly great. He had a monumental effect on the world, and no one could take that away from him. But it was a wicked effect on the world. And so he was wickedly great. And so in looking at this conference, and writing, and observing, getting this revelation, I titled my paper, From Wickedly Great to Great. And my premise was that there were 2 great documents in the world that had a profound effect on the African world. And I was witnessing at that moment a 3rd document. But the 2 previous documents had a wickedly great effect on the African world. And I felt that this document that I was witnessing these African leaders come back and report on had a great, would have a great effect on the African world if the people understood it and moved on it. But what was those first 2 wickedly great documents? The first one was in 1452, Dunbar versus Paper Wool. Y'all know Brother Safiwe Baleka. He talks about that religiously. That document inaugurated the transatlantic slave trade. None of us would be in this room if that document hadn't been written. And men and some women moved on that document. It wasn't just a document, it was what empowered people to move on that document. And they enslaved Africans and shipped Africans all over the world for over 400 years, almost 550 something years at this point, nearly 600 years, we're still suffering the effects of that great, wickedly great document. Y'all feel me? Yeah. And what was the second wickedly great document that has a profound effect on the African world that we're still suffering from? It's the 1886 Berlin Act, where these Europeans met in Berlin, Germany, to carve up the African world. We speak English, we speak French, we speak Dutch, we speak Spanish, we speak Portuguese. You know, my maternal ancestors came from Guinea-Bissau of the Volante ethnic group. They were dominated by the Portuguese. And my ancestors who still live there, my family who's still there, I don't know who they are, but I know they still live there, and there's still a family with them. And Robert's a Volante, and we both went to Guinea-Bissau. We went to Lakers Volante, we went under his leadership, but they speak Portuguese. Why? Because men and women, when you look at the missionary work that was done on the continent of Africa, it was done not only with the priests, but with the nuns. There was a lot of women involved. So it was men and women moved on this document. This document gave them power, it gave them license to create all types of crimes against African people. We're still suffering from the crimes that were inaugurated from that document. So these were 2 wickedly great documents in the history of the last 600 years in the history of African people. And I saw in 2009 that there was a new document on the scene. And it had the potential to wipe away all of the atrocities that was committed on those 2 documents, only if African people believed in that document and moved on that document. And what was that document? It was the 2001 World Conference Against Racism, and there's a sister in this room who's one of our true sheroes because she was at that World Conference Against Racism, and she moved the African nation, and she moved the European governments, and she moved the Asian governments to sign onto that document and say, yes, the transatlantic slave trade is a crime against humanity. Yes, colonialism, apartheid were crimes against humanity. And there's an obligation, both moral and legal, for those crimes to be redressed through reparations. And that's none other than our mama, Attorney Sophia Alabama. All the work that I do in the movement since 2009 is a result of your work. I couldn't be here if it wasn't for you. My intellectual organ activist foundation is the result of what you did. I love you. And so I saw country after country get up and say what they had did in 8 years with the Durban Declaration of Program of Action. And none was no more spectacular than Brazil. And why Brazil has so much of a deep effect on me, not only because of what they did, what they reported that they did, but Brazilians are, Black Brazilians live in a settler European colony just like we do. This is a settler European colony nation. And they have the same political orientation that we do, and they did some remarkable things with the Durban Declaration and Program of Action. And so when I saw that, then I saw what Zimbabwe did, seizing back the land that these Europeans took during colonialism, taking back the mine and said, no European can own more than 49% of any mine in Zimbabwe. Based on the Durban Declaration and Program of Action, those were crimes that were committed during that entire period of colonialism. When I saw this, I said, wow, we can, if moved and empowered by this document, if we know the seriousness of this document, it can empower us to erase every single act that was done over the last 600 years to our people. The purpose of reparations under international law is to wipe out all consequences of the illegal act. Wipe out all consequences. What is all consequences of the enslavement of Black people in this country? What are all the consequences? That's what we're fighting to wipe out when we get in this movement. That's who you are. You are here because you have taken upon the challenge to wipe out all consequences of the illegal acts over the last 600 years from these people who are empowered by these wickedly evil documents. That's who you are. I love each and every one of you for being in this space. And I want you to know that I love you. And I want you to know that we have to have a historical consciousness when we do this work. It ain't just because of something happened a year ago. Here in Tulsa, our brothers and sisters have a 100-year historical consciousness. And it's beautiful to see it. But we have to have a 600-year historical consciousness. And know that what we're doing is to, and it ain't gonna happen in our like, it took about 60 years for them to colonize the entire continent of Africa based on that document in 1885. Some of you got 60 years. Some of the young people, you got 60 years to put in this movement. But your goal is to wipe away all consequences of the criminal acts that have been done to 600, all the generations over 600 years. We heard so much trauma and atrocity today on that tour. Not even by 600 years. That was a 3-day period that had a tremendous impact on this community. There's been 600 years of uninterrupted crimes committed against our people, and we, you, each of us in this room, have the ability to begin to wipe all of that shit away. And so that's all I want you to know who you are. I love you for being in this space. Love you dearly, and you give me pride and joy to be working as a leader in this movement. Thank you.
Thank you.